feel like there's this amorphous, moving, fluid, independent filmmaker community that is in various different locations, and you're all learning. And maybe South by is a place where you meet each other as well.
It definitely is a place that supports that sort of relationship of like, and Janet and even Matt and Denver, they really stress that when you come here for the festivals, which is like, you're going to meet people you're going to work with, and it's true, and I don't think I necessarily took that statement very seriously, but I did. I met Tucker, and I was here with Medicine for Melancholy, and I met a whole slew of other people that like, and everyone on that crew met a whole slew of other people that we ended up working with, and I think it's whenever you contain people, like-minded people in the same space, because it's well, hard is a relative word because I have a filmmaking family, but it is really hard and difficult to make a small movie and to explain it to people and find the money, especially for people like me who I didn't come from a lot of money, so like it's hard to find money and it's hard to sort of like find it, but then when you find the right people that understand what you're doing and that you don't necessarily need it on a bigger scale, that you really want it to be, that you like the smaller scale, that you like the intimacy that you get from shooting with 8 people on set and shooting in the style with people that you know and your friends, and there's a lot of flack that I've heard even on the press from like films that I've done before where it's like, oh, it's all these friends working together, and it's like, yeah, but like who else can you be honest with, and who else can you just have like a shorthand knowledge with, where you can just be like, I really want this, and you remember that picture I sent you here, but and you talk for like 6 seconds, and everyone knows what page you're on, and then you shoot your scene, and I didn't have a casting call. Like I chose the people that I really loved from like my productions, and I'll probably do the same thing on the next movie, is choose people that I really love, like working with, and I think are really great performers, because you can have these conversations, you can have a friendship conversation, you can get deeper and have this really, and I also think like with Tucker and myself and Joe Swanberg too, who I work with a lot, and even Kate, like Kate's a brilliant writer as well, and it's like I don't think that any of us necessarily see ourselves as you go into a film industry and you have to package yourself, right? So like you have to package yourself as an actor, and so there's that, and so people are like, oh, so you're an actor now, and then you transition. But I don't think any of us ever saw ourselves as specifically being this. I think we all just wanted to tell stories, and compelling stories, and whether it was through performance or filmmaking or writing or any of that. But definitely the accessibility of camera equipment.
Well, you chose to shoot on Super 16, and I just described your movie as a steamy film noir, which it was 103 degrees or something while you were shooting in Florida, and you got this extraordinary grain. Talk about, in this digital age, why Kodak stock on Super 16 was what you wanted.
Well, okay, so I wanted to shoot 16 really badly, and Jay and I both discussed how
your DP.
Jay, my DP, and I discussed that it's like when I wrote the script, it was basically like, there's no way to make this movie unless it's on 16, and I don't know how to describe it more than a sort of a feeling sense, but it also instantly gives you this classic feeling that it could have been shot in the 70s, it could have been shot in the 80s, it could have been shot in the 90s, it could have been shot, well, anytime color stock is made. and so instantly you're invited into this world that you don't have to have pop culture references. And even if there are pop culture references, like I didn't shy away from using cell phones or anything.
You did that right at the beginning.
Yeah, and so it was fine for me to have that in there. But when you feel it, like all that stuff becomes not important, because film grain just moves and invites you in and wants you to be a part of it. And I do love digital. I like all the mediums, but I also think that at this point we're at an age where you can choose those things. You just have to like move your production around those decisions. Like we chose to shoot on film, so there were a lot of things that we had to not have because we were shooting on film.
Now, you're here at the festival. Presumably, you're hoping to sell the movie here. What are your fantasies about how you'd like it to get out and be seen?
I don't know. We have a lot of like interests in it right now, and so I'm not quite sure. I'm a firm believer in like in the idea that you don't have to that if you have a good story, you have a good film, that you don't necessarily have to come up like get bought by a huge company and to get it out there. And actually, like I've been some of the other projects that I've been working on, we are maybe even skipping the traditional route of doing festivals, even though South by is really great, but still there's this wave of like you're able to make these films and there's so much content on the internet that like in order to take control of it and in order to like be your own tastemaker or be your own artist, that you don't depend on like tastemakers outside of yourself. And so it's a really interesting age. I have no idea. You know?
But are you prepared to do this sort of hands-on social networking and marketing and all of the sort of that requires.
And then the negative part of it is that I really like being reclusive. Like I like working and then I like leaving and being very reclusive in my own life and not really a part of a scene or anything. So it gets really difficult. That's the trade-off. It's the same thing as like what I say. It's like you get this or you get that. It's the same thing with like we decided to shoot a film, and therefore we don't get like a sweet lens package. But like or you decide to distribute yourself, then you don't. You gotta commit your. It's like time.
Take the
money.
time and put into it. Well, I'll be curious to see what you're entertaining offers and listen. Are you part of that conversation about how it goes? Good. All right.
This is a small movie. I mean, it's like it was a kernel of an idea, and I brought all my favorites in, and magically found funding through like. I mean,
where did you find the funding?
I actually want to tell the story because my producers, like my executive producers, were really fun, like okay with it. I met this guy. His name's Tim Fargo. Facebook of all places. This girl that I went to high school with, she told me to meet him because I posted something about needing housing. She's like, oh, talk to this guy. And so I talked to him, and then he ended up, without even meeting him, he's like, I like your script. I'd like to give you money for it. And I was like, great. And so he not only let us use his like sweet house in Florida, which is like a 6-bedroom house on the beach that like my whole crew stayed in, but he also gave us money for the movie, and he's this very elusive character. But then also Andrew Krukov, who did Septium, I met him in Munich, and I made a bet with him one night that I would surf this strange wave on a river in Munich. And I showed up to surf the wave, and he didn't show up, and so I won the bet. And so that's how I got that portion of the money, and he's here. And then Shane Crew came on, and also Mark Reed, who's also in the movie, who's been really supportive of my work, also like gave money. So
did you do a Kickstarter campaign or anything?
I did a little crowdsourcing in the beginning, and it made the difference of like, I mean, that first week it was a huge help because it just for food and like flying people in, and that's literally in my head because I produce movies too. In my brain, if you can get everyone into one location, then you can really get things rolling, especially on the tiny films. If you can just make the like accommodations, find a house, find the food, and get the people there, and like once the train starts rolling, then you can usually find a way to like make it all work. And so we shot for a week, and I got everyone there through crowdsourcing on Chipman.
So what is the budget exactly?
I can't tell you that.
Under $1 million?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you.